Hello, and thank you for joining us on Classic Vinyl Podcast. This is the podcast where we listen to and review mostly songs, but sometimes albums from the classic vinyl era of the 60s and 70s. I am one of your hosts, Justin, and I am once again joined by my co-host, Tyler.
I am so privileged to be here.
Really are you, though?
Every time that we record, I'm privileged to be here because most people won't even let me in their front door.
Good point. And we've got our new on-air sign.
Yes, we do, in bright neon.
It looks good, red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm. Courtesy of a very near and dear fan.
Called my son.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that fan. He's joined us.
He's been on here before.
Yeah, he's joined us before for a couple episodes. But, of course, today we're going to do Lynryd Skynyrd and Don't Ask Me No Questions.
Yeah, Lynrd being spelled Lynrd.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like how it's spelled. So this song was suggested to us by Pete from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. Hey, thanks, Pete.
It's kind of funny. Don't ask me no questions. That's proper English, isn't it?
Yeah, Lynryd Skynyrd is spelled about the same way that most kids' names are spelled nowadays. That's an old man in me coming out.
Yeah. But I agree with you, so yeah. Well, I don't ask you about your business, so don't ask me about mine.
I won't. We've been working all day. We're done.
Yeah.
I kind of get that sentiment.
Kind of like the sentiment, don't ask me no questions, and I won't tell you no lies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a perfect statement.
Yeah. And, here I go just diving straight into the review.
Well, we'll get to that soon enough, but let me give you a little history on Lynryd Skynyrd, the band. They are an American Southern rock band formed in Jacksonville, Florida, way back in 1964. Lynryd Skynyrd popularized Southern rock. I mean, I would say they're kind of the poster child for that.
Yeah.
Southern rock, country rock, whatever you want to call them.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, the song that I absolutely hate. It's not that bad of a song. I probably liked it at some point in my childhood, but I've heard enough of it.
It just turned into something other than what the song is.
Yeah, kind of, I agree. The original name of Lynryd Skynyrd was My Backyard. Kind of an interesting band name, and they consisted of Ronnie Van Zant on vocals, Gary Rossington on guitar, Alan Collins on guitar, Larry Junstrom on bass, and Bob Burns on drums. They toured for about 5 years in the 60s, playing small venues until they changed their band name to Lynryd Skynyrd sometime in 1969. They did not actually release their first album until 1973, almost 10 years after the band formed. That's kind of crazy. And that debut album was called Pronounced Lynryd Skynyrd.
Now, I'm curious, did they... I've heard the legend that these guys took their name from somebody's high school teacher.
That's what I've heard.
Okay. Do you know one way or another if it's true or not?
I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to go with it either way.
Great story either way.
Yeah, I think it was their gym teacher, their PE teacher or whatever. Yeah, so let's just go with that theory. It's got to be it, right?
It's still a dang catchy name.
Yeah. So the band's lineup had changed by the time they made their first album. They had added Leon Wilkinson on bass, Billy Powell on keyboard, and Ed King as a guitarist. Bob Burns was replaced by Artemis Pyle in 1975, and Ed King left the band in 1975 and was replaced by Steve Gaines. Lynryd Skynyrd's kind of interesting because this is a band that has a lot of members, and they did have a lot of members. They still do. They're still touring to this day, but a whole bunch of guys on stage with this one. So in the 70s, they released a total of 5 studio albums, 1 live album, and 6 singles is all. And of course, that's because it come to kind of a bad end, but they're well known for that one song we talked about earlier, Sweet Home Alabama. They're certainly well known for Freebird, but their top single ever was Sweet Home Alabama, and it only hit number 8 on the charts.
That's right. These guys did Freebird. Do you know how many country music, I'm not a huge fan of country music, and let me explain this. So country music, so many of the songs are about other songs, and so many of those songs that are about other songs are about either Freebird or Sweet Home Alabama.
It's a good point.
Yeah, it's kind of a garbage genre for me, just because of that.
I can't disagree with that, but...
just not original.
Yeah, but what is anymore?
Fair.
Like I was saying, though, Sweet Home Alabama was their top charting song ever, and it only hit number 8 in the U.S. It did hit number 6 in Canada and number 31 in the UK. It was actually their top charting song in all 3 countries. The first 5 albums they had all charted in the top 40, with their 5th studio album, Street Survivors, being their top charting album at number 5 in the US, number 3 in Canada, and number 13 in the UK. Their 3rd studio album, Give Me Back My Bullets, did hit number 1 in Canada. So that's actually their top charting album anywhere. They've sold over 35 million albums worldwide, which isn't too bad for the short time they were together. And of course, the band's history forever changed on October 20th of 1977 when their chartered airplane crashed, killing Ronnie Van Zant, Steve Gaines, and their backup singer, Cassie Gaines. It also seriously injured, basically the rest of the band as well. And I mean, even though they're still touring and they kept touring forever, and their success came from the early 70s.
Yeah, that was the real day that the music died.
There was definitely some music that died that day. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. The band did reform in 1987 with Ronnie's younger brother, Johnny Van Zant, taking over the lead vocals. They're still touring to this day with many members of the band. So several new albums and a ton of compilation albums after the crash, but nothing ever lived up to the original lineup. I mean, even when you go to a show now, they're playing all their original hits.
Yeah, so was Ronnie Van Zant kind of the mastermind behind all this?
He was the push, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was definitely the push.
I was curious about that, if that's why it kind of died off after.
Yeah, and I think that happens, but also, let's be honest, that we've talked about it before, when members of a band die, that martyrs them to a certain degree, and unfortunate as it is, it also popularizes them.
Sure does.
Sells a lot of albums,
mm-hmm.
a lot of songs.
So if we ever get into a plane crash, listeners, you know that was possibly part of a scheme.
Yeah. Good idea. Yeah, that'll help the podcast.
Yeah.
So they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2003, which is pretty surprising with a band with just a few albums and, song charting as high as 8. But it is what it is, and you know what we think of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So,
I mean, once again, you've got like an entire genre of music that is like just dedicated to this band and their 2 main hits.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of good songs, and the funny thing about that is, my favorite Lynryd Skynyrd songs are not their most popular by any means.
No, but I'll bet you Kid Rock is solely responsible for getting them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know if anybody likes him, though.
Well, it's hard to say.
Okay.
So you had Billy Powell died in 2009, Bob Burns died in 2015, and the last original founding member, Gary Rossington, he died in March of 2023. But like I said, they're still touring. But do you want to get to the song?
Yeah, let's play it.
And now it's time for the song review.
So today we're doing Lynryd Skynyrd and Don't Ask Me No Questions. Now this song was released on April 5th of 1974. B-side was a song called Take Your Time. This song is off of the band's 2nd studio album called Second Helping. It was written by Ronnie Van Zant and Gary Rossington. Gary Rossington basically wrote the music. Ronnie Van Zant wrote the lyrics. They apparently wrote it during a fishing trip the two had went on. So the song was recorded at the Record Plant Studios in Los Angeles, California, and produced by Al Kooper. Now, Al Kooper is a famous producer, songwriter, musician. He's been associated with Lynryd Skynyrd, of course, Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stones, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, among a ton of others.
So I'm curious about this fishing trip. I wonder, I mean, just to paint a picture in my mind, when you say that this song was written on a fishing trip, are these guys like in a boat with their poles in the water, and somebody starts off with a bit of a rhythm, boom, 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 and then the other guy starts humming along with it. Okay, catchy tune. Now let's put some words to it.
I don't really know how it worked, but I would like to know how the fishing was.
Yeah.
If the fish like playing, does music help you with your fish?
These are the real important questions that need answers.
They are.
Don't ask them about their business.
So speaking of Al Kooper, though, he does provide backing vocals, and he's the one that plays the piano throughout this song. Now, we did listen to a couple different versions of the song, the album version and the single version. Now, the difference is the single version doesn't have as much guitar on it. In fact, during the solo, you get a piano solo, whereas on the album version, you can hear the piano, but it's pushed more to the background, and you've got the guitar solo over the top of it. I prefer the album version. Even though I like the piano, I don't like it being the lead instrument.
It certainly changes the feel of the song, and It's interesting because the album version, you have the guitar with the piano kind of backing it up. And then in the single version, you have the piano lead. The guitar's mixed way back, but then you have the saxophone doing the backup to the piano. It's kind of weird.
Well, and you have the saxophone in both. I think really all that's changed is they've recorded this song, and then I think they went back in and put the guitar over the top of it and mixed some of that stuff to the back, but it's hard to say. So this song was released as a single just a couple months before the actual album came out. The song actually did not chart. I think it's a pretty popular song now. You hear it on classic rock radio and things like that, but it did not chart. Obviously, their next single did fairly well, and that next single was off the same album, and that was Sweet Home Alabama. So I would dare say that's probably their most popular song. Freebird, probably a close second. I think Freebird's it's really hard to say. I wouldn't say culty song, but it's definitely got a popularity behind it.
There's certain types of people that Freebird is kind of their main go-to with Lynryd Skynyrd. And then there's the more mainstream that Sweet Home Alabama is.
Yeah, and I really do dislike Sweet Home Alabama. I do not like anything about that song. I'm the first one to say it. I like Freebird, but I am a little tired of it. I did have a Lynryd Skynyrd box set that there was a Freebird demo on. Very raw sounding and quite a bit shorter, not the lengthy epic song it became, but I love that demo. So anybody that has a chance, go check out the Freebird demo song because it's really good. But this song, Don't Ask Me No Questions, it's pretty easy to follow the lyrics, but this was really a message to the people who wanted a piece of the band when they became famous. You know, their first album did fairly well, and so people were after them. You know, they were largely ignored for like 6 or 7 years by everybody while they were struggling and playing small bars and things like that.
Yeah, it was My Backyard, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then their first album hits in 1973, and they have a modicum of success, and they faced huge demands on their time. And all of a sudden, friends and cousins and relatives, they start coming out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of these questions that they're being asked are the same old questions over. And like, these are questions that are going to be in any magazine or newspaper that they've done an interview with. I mean, it's all the same questions, right? It's all, what's it like, with your success? How did you write this song? Just asking about their business, right?
Yeah, exactly. So one thing I forgot to ask you, what is your history with this song prior to today?
This song gets a lot of play. I'm very familiar with it. This is probably the most intently I've listened to it.
Did you know this was Lynryd Skynyrd?
Now that you mention it, I would piece it with Lynryd Skynyrd. I wouldn't have necessarily known it as a Lynryd Skynyrd song.
Because that's part of this process of me and you sitting down and talking about these songs is a lot of these songs but I think you've definitely not been as intent on these things as I have, and you don't dive as deep. So a lot of the songs but you couldn't name who sang them.
Okay, so here's a little fun fact. I have a tendency to get Lynryd Skynyrd and Led Zeppelin mixed up in my head sometimes. It's dumb because they don't sound alike. They don't sound at all alike, but they both have a certain amount of success and popularity. And so like when you say Freebird, for some reason in my head, Freebird is associated with Led Zeppelin. I mean, Lynryd Skynyrd, I've now got Sweet Home Alabama associated with Lynryd Skynyrd. This one, I could have just thrown it up anywhere. It could have been anybody.
I'd certainly like to hear Led Zeppelin's version of Freebird, but so we listened to this song twice, the album version and the single version, after listening to them with the purpose of reviewing. What are your thoughts on this song?
This is a really, really neat song. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to it. So it has this that popular guitar riff, do 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 do, and that opens right up. And then you've got some drums holding up in the back, but they're all mixed real far back. You got some piano, you got that saxophone. It hasn't become the 80s yet, so it's not yet the sexy phone, but it's the saxophone. The lyrics, he starts out and just telling you, hey, there's a lot of people asking about this, and people come at me with stupid questions, and I'm kind of fed up with answering the stupid questions. It's just a waste of my time. I mean, that's just it. That's why they do the interviews. That's why they do articles on them and stuff. Is, hey,
They just barely become famous and he's already tired of it, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is, he sings about in this song the lyrics. He's like, "Oh, I like the fame, I like the success, I like the money, I like the expensive whiskey and the fast cars and stuff that come along with it, but I don't like having to repeat myself so much and having to answer a whole bunch of stupid questions and finding out, especially like as everybody that acquires fame does." That people who you thought were friends all of a sudden are looking to work an angle with you.
You could look at it another way. You could look like he's just kind of a whiny ass that isn't ready to deal with the fame, because the one thing we can say, this is true for celebrities of any kind, whether they be musicians, actors, athletes, whatever it is, they've got to remember the reason they are famous and the reason they are rich and the reason they are celebrities is because of the people, is because of all this. And so you can kind of look at it as a kind of a whiny ass song too, especially when the band was really, I mean, although they were almost a 10-year-old band by this time, they were new into their recording career.
Yeah. I mean, fame was still pretty fresh to them.
Exactly.
And so, on that same line of thinking, I listened to this radio disc jockey one morning on my way to work, and this was probably 20, maybe even 30 years ago. And he's like, the job I want is to be a PR consultant in Hollywood. He says it's the easiest job in the dang world. All you got to do is say 2 words to every celebrity, and they'll have success. People will love them. Those 2 words are be nice. If people are asking you questions, answer them. Be a nice person. Don't be a jerk to everybody, and you'll have success. People will love you. Publicity, they're going to be like, oh, he's a really good person, real nice guy. Just be nice. And I guess Lynryd Skynyrd hadn't quite figured that out yet, because that's exactly what you're saying. He's whining about, oh man, success is the rough part of success is having to talk about work all the time. Well, that's what most people talk about. Then again, looking back, this is the 70s. So is that all we talk about back then as much as we talk about our careers today? Maybe not.
Hard to say.
Yeah. So I get where he's coming from. I get what he's saying. And it's written really well. He's like, yeah, I don't want to answer any stupid questions. If you'll ask, good questions, then we'll have a good conversation. But if you start prying into my business, if you start asking me stupid questions I've had to answer over and over again, then I'm going to walk away. This conversation is not going to last very long. So he's basically laying it out there. If you want to get on my inner circle, don't make it all about the fame. Let's just talk about fishing, or let's talk about being a person. Let's just talk about other stuff. Anything that's not about work, man. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that when they go and meet somebody new, like, oh, you meet a doctor, then you're like, oh, let's talk about, medicine, and what's the weirdest thing, case that you've had brought in, or have you seen any really cool broken bones or something? And the doctor's like, I've just been messing around in people's bodies all day long. I don't necessarily want to keep talking about that, right? On the other hand, I get it, but I get what you're saying, Justin. I'm sitting on the fence on this one. I'm like, I totally have a foot in each on both sides on this one. Great song. At the end of the day, it's music, and it's good music, and it's, it's good listening, good driving music. So I have positive feelings about this song. What about you, Justin?
It's not too bad of a song. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not the largest Lynryd Skynyrd fan. Their songs for me are hit or miss. I was talking about Freebird, the demo earlier, and I've listened to quite a few of the raw demos, and I tend to like those a little more than I do some of them, but they've got some really good songs that I do enjoy. I just never got real deep into them. This has obviously got what you mentioned, the very recognizable guitar intro, and the guitar throughout is very recognizable. I think almost everybody's heard this song. Good thick bass through it. I think the thing that's weak in this are the vocals, and I don't mean by the way Ronnie Van Zant sings them. I mean the way they're mixed. They're kind of in the back and not as loud as the rest of it. Now, I don't know if that's my vinyl pressing or what, but on both versions we listened to were kind of that way. The vocals are a little back. They could have been turned up a little bit. But like I said earlier, I do like the album version because it's got that guitar solo in it. And to me, the piano fits perfect kind of in the backing, and a little sax in the backing. And That guitar is very biting, really sharp, but it's an okay song. It's not one that I'm really going to skip, but it's not one I search out either. So decent song. So do you want to rate it?
Yeah, let's rate it.
Song rating.
Okay, listener, if this is your first time listening, I will explain our rating system briefly. It's a 0 to 10 scale, 10 being the best. I put this one kind of up there when I rated it. I'd probably knock it down a little bit now after talking.
So I convinced you. We've talked about this many times. Do not let me convince you or peer pressure you into a higher or a lower rating. Just go with what rating you initially had.
I will put this at an 8. It does not belong up there. It really resonated, the whole message with me. I'm like, I totally get, with our recently acquired fame in the podcast world. I mean, yeah, people are always asking us, hey, Tyler, what's it like being with Justin in the studio and recording this? I'm like, you ever watch sausage get made in a factory and they start sweeping up all the odds and ends off the floor and dumping it into the vat and then hucking lungers into the vat too? People don't want to hear that. I had a fun time with it, so I put it in 8. Where do you put this one?
Yeah, I'm definitely not that high on this one. I rate this one a 6.5. It's a good song. Like I said, I'm not going to skip it. I don't go searching for it. I don't mind hearing it every once in a while. But to me, there's nothing really super special with it. But that's coming from a guy that's not a huge Lynryd Skynyrd fan, but I've definitely got a few of their songs that are in my favorites. So no doubt about that.
I keep it up at 8 because he talks at the end of the song about fishing.
Yeah, and you're a huge fisherman.
Yeah, I'm totally into fishing all of a sudden.
Yes.
This is who I am now. It's not a phase.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Lynryd Skynyrd, and Don't Ask Me No Questions. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can ask us some questions.
Mm-hmm.
Send them to classicvinylpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any songs or albums you'd like us to rate, send them there as well. Once again, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us. And until next time, see you later.
See ya.
Thank you so much for listening to Classic Vinyl Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Classic Vinyl Podcast for updates, and also share us with your music-loving friends.